He's a Hall of Famer, 13 NFL seasons, all with the Raider franchise. Now he's part of the new Fox Bet team, contributing to the Fox Bet Real Money app and Super 6 game. He's joining us. Undisclosed location up in Montana. I'll just give you that. On his deck, it's beautiful part of the country on a lake. And, it's interesting. Joey and I were talking about this. No preseason games. Now, I imagine if when you were in your last year with the Raiders, you couldn't have given a rip about the preseason. But I do wonder, but when you were young, does the preseason matter when you're a young player?
I always felt like I needed a couple of weeks of live simulation. I'm not a fan of games in the preseason. I'm not a fan of scrimmages with other teams. I think you can control the environment and potentially avoid any kind of an injury if you're in practice with your own team and you're staying off the ground.
When you look, it's funny. So these young quarterbacks, let's just take Cam Newton. So he gets no preseason with New England. He's not worked with the receivers. He's sharing snaps with Jarrett Stidham. And this is something we've said on our show. We got to lower expectations here for rookie quarterbacks, Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, these guys with new teams. What's a realistic expectation, Howie, on Cam Newton this year?
Well, I think the Patriots are kind of an outlier in the way they prepare their players. We talk about it all the time. We've talked about it. I've talked about it on your show. The way they change their scheme, their system, their approach week to week, half to half, quarter to quarter, series to series is amazing. And that tells me they're great teachers. And Chris, having played there, I understand that there's an expectation. There's kind of a baseline expectation of what your kind of contribution is and your role in the offense or the defense. And I think it's a fascinating signing. I was kind of surprised Cam went there, and I was also surprised that they picked him up. But I think it says a lot about Cam and his desire to expand his horizons and go play for a guy who's won countless Super Bowls and been in the Super Bowl countless times and feed off of that and replace Tom Brady. I'm excited to see what they do with Cam. Cam has given Bill fits in the couple of times they've played them. So I think Cam's abilities will be the focal point. And, they don't make exceptions in New England. They didn't make exceptions for Tom Brady. Everyone's treated the same way. He has a different approach. If Troy falls asleep in a meeting, you wake Troy up and you get him a cup of coffee. If somebody else does, you cut him.
Yeah. In the NFL, it's never as bad generally as you think it's going to be. I've learned this through the years, or never as good as you think it's going to be. And we're all talking about Tom Brady. It's going to be just roses and 40 touchdowns. And I'm like, time out. It's never free agents, trades. They're never as grand as you think. If there's anything about Brady to Tampa, Howie, that would worry you just a little bit, what would it be?
Well, the two things that worry me, of course, are that's one, can he hold up over the course of a long season? I certainly don't think he needs preseason games, and it looked like he got together with his receivers quite a bit prior to camp opening up. And the other thing that worries me a bit is where the happy medium hits for the Bruce Arians offense versus what Tom's used to running. Bruce is a guy who, we all know likes to get the ball down the field. He did it in Pittsburgh. He certainly did it in Arizona, which makes your quarterback more susceptible to being hit.
Yeah.
That's not a prescription for success with Tom. So I think there's going to be a happy medium, and that's going to be interesting to watch. They're loaded down there, Colin. If he stays healthy and they find a happy medium, which I'm sure they will, Bruce is a smart guy, and so is Tom. The sky's the limit because their defense played well down the stretch last year.
Let's talk about your Raiders. I tend to be a bigger fan of Derek Carr than the NFL media community. They bring in Mariota, who I don't think's close to Derek Carr. What I worry about, Gruden can be a barker. Derek tends to be a tad sensitive. Oh. Is it possible, Howie, that Derek's personality and John, they're just not built for each other long term?
I agree with you. I think John, he has a very high expectation for everyone on the football team and everyone in the organization, and he's not shy about expressing it. And if you're thin-skinned, I don't think you can play quarterback for John Gruden. I think the process of Derek Carr adapting to John Gruden and vice versa, I think has been good for Derek Carr. I think it's toughened him up a bit, and you're either going to get tougher mentally, and he was tough physically, and I think the expectations are high for this offense. And certainly when you bring in a Marcus Mariota, who's been to a Pro Bowl, who is a dynamic talent, but a different type of player than Derek Carr, and you're hearing positives out of training camp about Marcus Mariota. But the expectations are high, but they're high for every player on that offense under John Gruden. So get your job done, or they'll be looking for somebody else.
You played 13 years with one franchise. It's just different. It just doesn't happen much today. And, I look at Earl Thomas, and on those Raider teams, there were some guys that had their own personalities. They weren't perfect. Hey, when you came into the league, you were a tough guy. You weren't going to be pushed around. You didn't have to get along with everybody. What is the line, though, with Earl Thomas? Because the Raven players said you're out. How far is too far with a teammate? Value to disruption?
Well, I think, and you're very aware of this because you're from the Northwest. Seattle had something really special up there, particularly in the secondary, and Earl was a big part of that. And I think, your kind of litmus test or what is what you experienced in Seattle. And I think if you're chasing that, you're chasing ghosts, because that doesn't exist. And for whatever reason, and I don't know all the particulars, whether there's talk of being late for meetings or missing meetings and being difficult to get along with. And for whatever reason, it just didn't appear that Earl fit there, from the beginning. And he's a talented player, and I'm sure that someone will give him an opportunity. There's talk of Dallas, there's talk of San Francisco. Jay Glazer's telling me he doesn't believe Dallas, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting about this NFL world now that, and we see it in the NBA, players are better, younger. They get paid more early. We talked about Kansas City. We're like, sometimes Trent Dilfer always said this, the hardest person to manage can be yourself, and it's harder to manage great than it is bad. We're all motivated as guys. When we're bad, we work harder. That's our DNA. But when we're good, I look at Kansas City and I think, man, a lot of guys getting paid, very young in spots, Super Bowl. Take me to your career on the best team you ever had. You have a Super Bowl team. Then you come back for camp. Everybody's got a little more money. Everybody recognized you. Everybody got a commercial. Take me to what that's like for Kansas City for the next 6 months.
Well, the good news is you have Andy Reid. That's I think from just a foundation standpoint, setting the tone for the football team. And you've got a young, dynamic quarterback who just appears to be not only special physically, but he's just a special guy. And that really, I think, plays a big role in how successful this team could be moving forward. Certainly, are the pieces in place for them to contend for another Super Bowl? Yes. And winning it's a 16-game season. You have injuries, you have complacency, all the things that Jimmy talks about. I didn't get enough. I didn't get enough attention. I didn't get enough money. Those are things that factor in, but they seem to have paid their key players, and they've got those guys in place. If everyone stays healthy, they're going to be there at the end. It's just a question of if they have a little luck, because it takes a little luck to win it. Yeah.
So I have a question for you. I said to Joy earlier, Bill Polian used to always tell me, you got to have 3 weeks of hitting. Most guys need 3 weeks of hitting, or you'll have injuries early. Should I expect the first 2 weeks of the NFL season to have more injuries? Because the hitting is just practice hitting.
It seems like soft tissue injuries. I think what's unique about, and I'm not sure that necessarily applies in today's game, because I think players are, they're bigger, faster, stronger. They're in better shape. They're continually working out. From the minute the season ends, you're back in some program off campus, and whether it's in Florida or Texas or California, you're in one of these kind of design places that train you as an athlete. I don't think you can simulate football, certainly, and I think you can get that done in a couple of weeks within the confines of your own building. But these players today versus the players 20 years ago are in such better shape, and they're far more prepared. I think soft tissue injuries are certainly a concern because you can't simulate full go football until you play it, and we've seen that over the last few weeks.
So when you're on a lake all summer, what do you do? Does Howie water ski? Do you and Terry have big parties? What do you do all summer up there?
Well, I get in my boat. I throw my dog in there. I go out and I take a bath in the middle of the lake just about every day. That's the high point of the day. I know it's fabulous here. We have cherry orchards. We do harvesting. We do a lot of programs with the Boys and Girls Clubs up here, and it's a lot of fun. We enjoy it. It's my favorite time of the year. But then you got to get back to reality. You got to get back to work.
No kidding. Jumping in a lake, taking a bath with a dog is a country song just ready to be written right now by Howie Long, who is now part of the Fox Bet team, the Hall of Famer. They got a new Fox Real Money app, Super 6 game. And you don't age, my friend. You're a great dude, wonderful family, and it's great seeing you.
Thanks, partner. Good seeing you.
Howie Long, one of my favorite people I've ever worked with. Super dude. Just jump in a lake, take a bath.
It does sound like a country song.
Terry Bradshaw could write and perform that song by Howie Long. I'll let those guys figure it out. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.